Hello, gang. Welcome to the second session, I think it is, of day two. We are live with Jarvis Smith from My Green Pod. Brilliant to see so many people here already and commenting in the chat there. So if this is your first time on Crowdcast, there's the chat box on the right-hand side there. Jarvis has also pushed me out of my comfort zone to have a go at putting these polls in here. So if you see along the bottom menu thing, Jarvis has suggested, I think there's 7 questions in there. Loads of different questions about sustainability and, how different areas of our life should sort of have an influence on it and things. So hop onto those polls and do have your say on those. And if you've got a specific question, pop it in the Ask a Question. Sorry, someone just put a comment in the chat that just distracted me. I'm not very good at two things. Pop them in Ask a Question box and we can get to them as well. So, Jarvis, do you want to start off by introducing yourself?
Yeah, well, hello, everybody. Jen, thank you for organising this. I think it's such a delightful thing you've put together. I'm looking forward to getting around the campfire later. That's what I'm looking forward to. So, yeah, for those of you that don't know me, I run a company called My Green Pod, which is essentially an ethical lifestyle hub where we try and recommend the best products that we can find to a conscious citizen so that they can consume in a healthy way. I've been doing it for 12 years. So my very first project was the UK's first ethical lifestyle magazine. Then I launched National Geographic Green in 2009, which is the world's biggest ethical lifestyle magazine. And that has essentially evolved to what we do now. So we have a magazine that goes out with The Guardian. It's a quarterly supplement called My Green Pod. We have the website, and I also run the UK's leading sustainability awards, which is called the P Awards. PEA stands for People, Environment, Achievement Awards. And in fact, we're in our 10th year anniversary this year. We would have had our 10th year event. So due to the lockdown, I'm not even sure if that's going to be going ahead in October or not. So we'll have to wait and see. But why does that qualify me to speak about sustainability? Well, I've watched a conscious citizen journey. And I used to call these people consumers, and I watched the kind of consumer revolution journey. And we've been really on it. I mean, we've written a news piece every single day for the last more or less 10 years on ethical consumerism or sustainability or business-related, conscious business-related stuff. And through that time, we've seen a massive shift in awareness from a mainstream audience. So when Jen asked me if I'd like to talk about how do we make sustainability mainstream, I felt that I would actually have quite a lot of insight to certainly how it's been for us and our journey. So that's a bit of an introduction to me. I'd like to go back a little bit more, if I may, just what got me onto this path. In 2006...
Sorry to interrupt you for a minute, Jarvis.
Yeah.
People are saying that you're quite quiet, and I don't know if I can hear you okay, but I don't know if there's anything you can do with your...
thing I can do about except I could put headphones in and try and speak.
Try and see if that makes any difference.
Try and speak through a microphone. So I'll shout for a minute until I've got... So in 2006, I was invited... Firstly, is that any better for those of you that perhaps were struggling to hear me? Oh, we've got lots of
in the box. People saying I can hear well, I can hear him fine. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's brilliant. But let's go with that.
Okay. So in 2006, I was invited by some TV researchers that knew me to go onto a television show that was on Channel 4. And it was a show where people would be sent to an extreme environment to highlight the issues that were happening to our planet. So I didn't know where we were going, what the show was about, or anything. But it was about ecology and the environment, and to highlight some issues that I felt very passionate about. Now, the show was called Dumped. It was on Channel 4, and essentially there were 10 of us that were chosen, and we had to live on a landfill in Croydon for 3 weeks. And it was called Dumped because we were literally dumped onto this environment with nowhere to sleep, nowhere to shit, nowhere to shower, nowhere to cook food. Literally, there was nothing there when we arrived, and it had a massive impact on me. In fact, such a big impact that I made a commitment to Canberra that I would engage all of my life's work into informing people and inspiring people about the biggest issue of humanity's time. Now, this was back in 2006. I then went on to do various other things. And I think probably, I'm certainly one of the people that has led the charge in getting information in front of people for them to change their lifestyle habits. There have been many others, but I definitely think we've been very much a part of that lead. And now we're seeing the BBC every day, with mainstream news. The Planet is the biggest advert of all because that's giving us, the biggest advertisements that we need to in order to wake up. So that's a little bit of a background about me. I'm now in a business with my wife, who's the editor, and she's amazing. She's the brains of this operation. I'm just the kind of front of house business development type guy. So if I don't get things absolutely quite right, then you can always follow up with us afterwards, and I'll get her to clarify things.
Brilliant. So a really good question and an important question, I think, to kick off with is, what does sustainability mean? Because you said just before we went live, and this is something I talk about, sustainability. That word means something different to everybody, and it has so many different connotations and that kind of thing. So, what's your take on that?
Yeah, well, I think it's a really good word to unpick, and I think part of the challenge that we've had over the last 10 years is the communication around getting people to live differently. And in harmony with the planet and with each other. So this word sustainability, what does it mean? So if you look at it in business, it means one thing. It means that if your business is sustainable, most of us would think, oh, it's got a green agenda, it's ethical, it's this, that, and the other. But actually, no, it simply means it's creating enough profit to sustain itself. So when you talk about a sustainable business, it doesn't actually necessarily mean it is a green economy or entity. So that's the first thing. So I do think that we have a big issue around the word sustainability, that everybody has a very slightly different understanding of what that word means. Now, thankfully, over the last 2 or 3, 4 years, sustainability has become a meaning that is engaged with issues that are positive when it comes to the climate crisis. So that's kind of good in a way. But actually, if you look at the fundamental meaning of the word sustainability, I'm going to read it out to you because this is just it's a minefield. Sustainability is the ability of a system to exist constantly at a cost in a universe that evolves towards thermodynamic equilibrium, the state with maximum entropy. Now,
I'm not entirely sure what you said there.
No, exactly. That's my point. So then it goes on to say, in the 21st century, it refers generally to the capacity for the biosphere and human civilization to coexist. So that's beginning to give us an understanding of shape. And then it says it is also defined as the process of people maintaining change in a homeostasis balanced environment in which the exploitation of resources, the direction of investments, the orientation of technology development and institutional change are all in harmony and enhance both current and future potential to meet human needs and aspirations. Now we're beginning to kind of create a consciousness around the word sustainability. But I think the biggest issue is that we operate in a language which doesn't actually always get across what we truly want to say, right? So if there's already this kind of misguided understanding of the word sustainability and we're trying to live it, how can we possibly be laser-like and focused with our purpose on a word that doesn't actually mean the same to everybody else? So sustainability is going to get thrown out of the room because that's not a word I think is in great service to the biggest issue of humanity's time. What I would like to do is pull the word back to defining our ability defining our personal ability to sustain. So what is it that we are wanting to sustain? Are we wanting to sustain our lives, the planet, nature? Are we wanting to just sustain ourselves enough so that we have enough to be able to live and eat. And so I think we need to take the word back to ourselves and personally create an identity with what it is we're trying to sustain. So my purpose, what I'm trying to sustain, is a planet and nature, so there is a wonderful world for my children to live in as they grow older, and their children, and so on. So that's my purpose, is to trying to create that environment where we can sustain life, and that's in service to all things for all time. Yeah. So that's a really long-winded answer to your question, but I think people really do need to sit and be with that word sustainability and define what it means to them, and then carve away the bits that are unnecessary around it and get really clear about the purpose of that word.
I was just thinking that, because we had a session yesterday with Ray Ritchie, and she was doing it about, you know, your values and sustainability, and kind of reconnecting with them. And actually, I think from what you're saying, you know, we all need to take that word sustainability and, like you said, sit with it for a bit and almost come up with our own definition of what that means to us, and then how we can frame our actions around that very personal meaning that it has to us. So if anybody does, you know, want to share, Tanya said it's the ability to sustain life.
Love that.
She was on a degree course, and they followed the 3 pillars of sustainability. So is that this almost the sort of people, planet, and profit one, I guess? And if there's an imbalance, there isn't sustainability. Ray says making sure the planet has enough for everyone, that we don't take from the planet more that we can give while it supports healthy life. So guys, these are all awesome. Come and, you know, have a look. You don't have to answer now. Have a think. Do come and share them in the Facebook group. One of the things that I'm really aware of around the word sustainability is it's just really dull. Like,
yeah, it is.
It's, you know, you say, oh, you know, I work in sustainability. You just see people go, really? All right. Well, no, like it's not aspirational for people. It's there's a lot of stereotypes that come with it. You know, we talk about the sort of eco warrior stereotype and the whole kind of zero waste stereotype, and it's you know, it comes with a lot of baggage, as well as not really knowing what it means. So I think that's, you know, we almost need a new word. And I've talked to Georgina at Pebble Mag about this, and we can't work out what it would be.
Well, let's. I think I know what it is. Let's open that out, because I think we've already evolved into the consciousness of what this is. And it's, as far as I can see right now, the buzzword is purpose.
Yeah.
So the way things work, the way the world works, is there becomes a certain level of consciousness that suddenly everybody taps into, and then that becomes an opportunity for us to embed that into our lives. So the current consciousness in the realm of sustainability is the word purpose. So what's happening is that all these businesses are stepping forward now, trying to define what their purpose is. Now, some of us had a purpose before we got into business, at Pebble Mag, as you mentioned, and My Green Pod, and there's loads of other businesses that had a purpose, then became a business. Now what's happening is big businesses are trying to define what their purpose is. So good examples of this are Unilever. NatWest Bank have just announced that they were going to be a climate business and mitigating certain funds from certain areas that are damaging ecosystems. So let's look at that, because I feel that if we can actually connect with our purpose, then actually that defines everything that we need to do and fix when it comes to the issues around becoming sustainable, right? So my feeling is that if you do believe the science, and you know, we're all aware now how important science is to certain situations with the COVID-19, right? So we're beginning to understand that science does have its place, right? So science is saying that within the next 10 years, if we haven't radically moved the goalposts and changed the way that we live on this planet, then we will probably be beyond recovery and restoration, right? So if you can within yourself define what it is that you are really good at, like what's the thing that you know you're just brilliant at, and then if you can then just perhaps engage yourself for the next 10 years in doing what you're brilliant at and how that can support the planet. So I think we need to do this collectively as a race of human beings, is to decide what we're good at, or know what we're good at, then engage that goodness to creating and fixing the massive issues around the degeneration of the planet and the ecosystems and everything else. Basically, we're killing ourselves. We're making ourselves going to become extinct. And then you can live your purpose, even if it's just for the next 10 years. So I would ask everybody to really, invite within yourselves to be reminded about what you're good at, how you can engage that with the issues, and then live that as your purpose. I think if we can do that collectively, then we are going to change everything very quickly. Now, thankfully, we're at a point of reset right now. People have been asking me for years, what would you do, Jarvis? What's the one thing you would do in order to fix or to begin to start to deal with the things? The first thing I've always said is, first, we need to stop. We need to stop what we're doing. Everybody, we need to stop going to work. We need to stop everything. Then we need to sit and decide exactly what it is that we need in order to move forward. So we've been given a massive, massive gift. I know it's been horrible for those that have been ill, the NHS, those that have died, those that have got family members that have died, but it is nothing in comparison to what is coming if we do not fix and begin to deal with the very issues that are causing our extinction. Right? This is just the tip of a massive iceberg, the experience that we've had. So firstly, we need to understand the importance of it. Secondly, we need to engage with what we're good at and living that as a purpose to fix and begin to restore our planet. Yeah. So, some people turn around and say, well, the planet's going to be fine. It's, it's going to, it may be, it may not. We don't know, actually. But actually, what we need to consider is human beings and our part in this, because we've been given the intelligence for some reason or another to be able to evolve beyond what most animal species have been able to do, and we've made a right cock up of it. We've made a mess of it. So let's hold our hands up and say we've all been a part of this. We've all fed this beast, but we can actually change it now. And I do believe that how we do that is firstly by taking responsibility for ourselves.
Yeah, and that's always been the key to what I've did. So, I started sort of our journey when we spent a year buying nothing new. And that was the biggest learning that I had from it, was that, we have to take responsibility for all these choices that we're making very unconsciously most of the time. We've got to take responsibility for those and for the impact of them. And I think, if we do that as individuals and as families, if we do that as employees and as employers, if government do that as MPs and all that sort of thing, wow, we would hugely see a change.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to think that as an individual you don't have power, but it really does boil down to that, taking responsibility for your actions, and and then if you can kind of share them and influence some others as well, it's bringing everybody on board, which is one of the things we obviously need to do.
I agree. There's a question there about, you talked earlier about the 3 Ps. People, planet, profit, or I actually we did a survey at our last P Awards, and we actually went around and filmed everybody and said, what order would you put profit, people, planet, purpose? What order would you prioritize those? And every single person put profit last. So profit has got us into the mess that we're in. We are now seeing that 70 to 80% of our economy is non-essential items, right? If we can't have a restorative economy based on the essential items that we need in order to live, and that doesn't sustain our economy, then clearly we have completely messed up, right? Because our economy does not serve the whole. It doesn't serve the future generations. Now, here's why. This is basically the mantra of our economy that we have currently lived in up until this point. So this was created by a very clever chap who was an economist, a guy called Victor Lebeau, and he basically created this mantra, which was back in 1955, just post the war. And it goes like this: our enormously productive economy demands that we make consumption our way of life, that we convert the buying and use of goods into rituals, that we seek our spiritual satisfaction, our ego satisfaction in consumption. We need things consumed, burned up, replaced, and discarded at an ever accelerating rate. That is our economy. That's the mantra that big business and banks and finance and everything else is built upon that small statement there. Now, that thankfully has just been pretty much stopped, you know, through this pandemic and the global lockdown that we have experienced. So there's lots of stuff going on about building a new green recovery and a restorative economy post this situation. But what we need to understand is we have been manipulated through advertising, big business and films and the whole thing to want more and more and more and more and more. And that's partly because we've lost contact with nature. And actually, if you think about it, and I'm ranting here a bit, but I'm trying to use this time as efficiently as possible. Every single thing that we are, that we eat, that we wear, that we live in, that we drive in, comes from nature. Everything. Yes, some of it has been manipulated or changed or whatever in food sources or whatever that might be, plastic materials, things like that. But it all comes from nature. How have we lost our connection with nature when I could just feel this shirt and know that it's come from nature? How have we lost that connection? Well, here's how: through religion, through governments, through big business, because they've fed us a story, a narrative that we need all of these things and we shouldn't even care where they come from. So how do we make mainstream, how do we make sustainability mainstream? Is we need to remember our indigenous roots. We need to go back to the human beingness that was our birthright. You know, that innocence of a child before you get indoctrinated with all these systems that make you want to be something that you don't even sure, you're not even sure you want to be yourself. So my sense is that we are going, actually, forget sustainability and the climate crisis and all of that. We don't need to make it mainstream. It already is. The fires in Australia, the fires in California, the tsunamis, the earthquakes, the volcanoes. Every day the planet gives us the biggest adverts that you could ever imagine. We don't need to make it mainstream. It already is mainstream. The thing that we need to care about is are we going to be a solution to helping our planet restore and therefore helping humanity live longer, or are we going to be a problem? So if we can evaluate every single thing in our lives, how do we, these are the 6 things that we've learned that consumers are willing to change, or citizens are willing to change in the way that they consume. It's what they eat, what they put in their bodies. We're seeing massive shifts in that. But organic is obviously clearly, you know, a better way to go. You know, there's the vegan movement. I mean, there's lots of processed foods coming into veganism now. So I'm a vegan, but I'm not proud of that labeling, because it's, you know, it's been horribly fried. I know that's not even a word, but it's got some really unfortunate negative connotations to it. But I am a plant-based eater. Could we choose that to be that? You know, how do you travel? Well, we're getting an insight now to walking and traveling and cycling in a different way. These are the things that people are willing to change. How they buy their energy. If you haven't switched to 100% renewable energy tariff yet, do it now. Now you've got plenty of time at home to do it. You know, Octopus, Good Energy, Ecotricity, do it now, because that will drive an economy, a green economy. It will give jobs. It will take our dependency away from fossil fuels, you know, the whole thing. And also the way people go on holiday. So, you know, we're seeing flights, you know, have been grounded right now, and that's all on hold. So people are going to be reconsidering how they travel. So I think that was 6. So let me remember. So it's what you put in your body. The other one, what you put on your body. So what are you using to wash your skin, wash your hair? Yeah, if it's not natural, and I mean really natural, like Weleda or, you know, Tabitha James Cran, or, you know, not this bullshit natural, which is the products that you're going to see in Boots that say natural, and actually you dig down and the ingredients are just as harmful and as toxic as anything else. So do your research. There's plenty of places out there. There's Geeky, there's My Green Pod, there's Pebble Mag, there's loads of information out there. So do your research, spend some time, decide how you're going to live yourself, decide how you can become more sustainable, more purpose-driven within your own life, and then eventually off on everybody else around you. You are being the change, and the very energy of that will rub off on your friends and family. And then I advise you too, if you dare, is to prod and poke. If you're seeing people around you that you love that are actually doing things that you know fundamentally are damaging our planet, i.e., you know, buying factory farmed meat, or, you know, driving a fossil fueled car. I know that's a big issue because we've all got cars, and yeah, we need to find a way to retrofit them. But if you are seeing people that are part of the problem and not part of the solution, prod and poke, because the biggest way to spread a campaign through since consumerism has started has been word of mouth. Every one person tells 10 people. Every those 10 people then tell 100 people, 100 people to 1,000. It's the best way to spread the message. But we cannot now let people fall asleep.
Yeah.
They've been woken up. They've had a shamanic awakening, in a sense that they've had to stay at home, be with themselves, not keep themselves too busy with nonsense, so that people are kind of beginning to reevaluate their lives. And now we need to make sure that people don't fall back asleep, because we only have 10 years to keep people awake. So go on, sorry.
Well, Laura's made a really good point, and it was something that I was going to kind of do as devil's advocate. Like she said, it feels a little bit like preaching to the converted, and in that, you know, everybody here in the chat's like, this is amazing, and we're already kind of on board with this. You know, we've come to a sustainability festival. How do we get those people on board who are, you know, there are some people who would listen to what you've just said and be like, oh, it's a load of hippie woo woo, like, you know, reconnect with yourself, reconnect with nature, peace out. Like, how do, you know, where is that resistance coming from? How do we overcome? How do we reach the people who are, you know, busy, don't have, think, God, I haven't got 5 minutes to go for a wee on my own, let alone, you know, like sit and take some time out to think about reconnecting with nature. Like, how do we how do we speak?
How do we do it? Yeah. Well, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And, you know, I do come from a hippie woo-woo spiritual background. I mean, my grandfather's lineage was sages and spiritual masters in India. So I'm sorry, I do come from that place.
Sorry, no, I was
No. And I didn't take it personally at all. I didn't take it personally. I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to change gear completely, right? There's 197 people on this call, right? I ask you all, just for a moment, stay with me. Just close your eyes. Everybody just close their eyes right now. Take a few deep breaths. Really breathe deeply and connect your mind with your breath. So all you're thinking about is breathing. Breathing in and breathing out. Okay? And in your mind's eye, in keeping your eyes closed, in your mind's eye, take yourself to your most favorite place on the planet. To the place that makes you feel happy and warm and at peace and tranquil, smiley, you know, whatever those nice, positive feelings are. Be in that place just for a moment and just take another breath and really allow yourself to be in that place. And just feel what it feels like to be in that place, how it makes you feel. And when you're ready and in your own time, just take another breath in, open your eyes, and just come back to the podcast. Now, I'm going to ask you a very simple question. In that place that makes you feel the best that you can feel, how many of you were shopping?
Yes, I wasn't shopping.
Please put in the chat anybody that was shopping. Because
I said lol.
Because you're asking me a question. Okay, how does anybody do that? Okay, firstly, you need to be committed. Do you want to be a problem or a solution? Are you committed to being a solution? And if you are, then very simply, you can decide what the way that you consume, the power that you have, the businesses and corporates and governments that you are keeping alive is by the way you spend your money. Yeah, there are other things, but I'm sorry, I'm an ethical consumer expert. So that's the only bit I know. I'm very much about grassroots, people at the bottom. We can already see governments are making statements about green recovery. We can already see a corporate a collaboration coming together that is saying we can go back to business as usual. If you're not a CEO or a decision maker in those businesses within government, then you can't do anything about it apart from the way you vote or the way you spend your money, right? So eat well, try and eat organic if you can, buy products that are that don't use single plastic, right? Buy products that don't have ingredients that are damaging our ecosystems, right? Travel as as consciously and as fossil free, fuel free as possible. 100% go and buy 100%. Sorry, sign up to 100% renewable energy today. And if you do it through Octopus, you can then do it, and you can invite your friends to do it, and they'll give you 50 quid back for every time somebody new signs up. It's amazing. And if anybody wants to find out anything about anything that they care about when it comes to how they can be more sustainable, you can go to My Green Pod, you can go into our search engine, you can tap in any subject matter, and I guarantee there will be a story there that will inspire you to want to find out more, or Pebble Mag, or some of the other brilliant entities that are out there. But I promise you, there is enough information out there if you are willing to commit to change. Right. So don't tell me that how do we do it? It's difficult, all of that. Then you're not committed. It's really simple.
It's kind of, it's hard, isn't it? I completely hear what you're saying, and it does come, it does boil down to, like, do you want this to be your future or do you not? That is the stark reality that we are facing. But I'm just going to have a look at the poll actually to see what people are saying.
Yeah, I'm interested in that as well, actually.
Them. Money, organic costs more, plastic free stuff costs more, and we've got a panel in a minute about how to be sustainable on a budget. And I think that the message that I put out, is actually you'll be consuming a lot less in terms of clothes and travel and all that sort of thing. So it does balance out. But money is the top one up there. Nearly 50% of people. Tools, information, societal pressure, no leadership.
Let's look at money for a minute, because I think if what we've seen of late over the last 7 weeks is that people have been having a different relationship with the way that they buy stuff. Partly because we've had to consider what food we're going to buy. Certain foods are not available. We had that massive toilet paper issue in the very early stages. I mean, gosh, talk about first world problems. But the point is that money is a massive issue, and I absolutely get it. Okay, so if you haven't signed up to 100% renewable energy yet, and you're with one of the big six, which about 80% of the population still are, then you can save between 200 and 300 pounds by doing that. So there's a money saving straight away, right? Now, you could actually think about buying better quality food, which will have a better impact on your health. And Vivienne Westwood's quote, by eating better but less. Now, I think we are seeing at the moment that we can grow stuff, which is the absolute ideal scenario. If you live in a city, of course, it's tricky, but there are amazing hydro water-based growing systems that don't cost a lot. Longevity, it's a bit like the solar panel thing back in the day. How many of us are kicking ourselves for not investing in solar panels when the feed-in tariff was giving us 40 or 50 pence back a kilowatt? It's like, we do see changes happen. So, invest in your future, invest in your children's future. But at My Green Pod, we've really tried to deal with this. And what we tried to do is democratize products. So basically finding you the best. So we might have found you an organic shampoo that costs 25 quid a bottle, and you're paying £2.50 a bottle, right? But you are creating toxicity and putting chemicals into your body that is damaging you, number one. The second thing is, if you use an organic shampoo, you probably only need to wash your hair once a week. With the cheap stuff, because it's coated in liquid plastic and all kinds of stuff, if you don't wash your hair every day, because that's what it's built for you to do, then you're going to increase the usage of it. You'll actually find the cost per wash is going to be more or less the same as buying an expensive natural ingredients bottle. So it's a mindset thing. You might think you're paying less at the beginning, but actually what's the longevity or the health issues or those other things that go into the equation? So we know money's an issue. So what we're doing at My Green Pod is we're democratizing products. We're trying to find products that we can give you a reduction. Our business is not built on profit, it's built on purpose. So you can come to our site, you can get a 15% discount. We've even said to people, if you can't afford it, let us know and we'll try to do our best to go out to the brands and see if we can get products to you. So we're doing that. But the other thing I think is really important is we can create buying clubs. So those household goods that you need, I mean, BioD is a really good example. We've created a pot where, you can all buy, some washing up liquid or some, laundry detergent or anything like that. If we get 100 people to buy it all at the same time, so you can get it at a price point which costs the same as if you're going to the supermarkets and investing in products that are damaging our planet. So we're creating these opportunities, and we're not the only one. There's lots of people out there creating these opportunities. But do sign up to My Green Pod, and I promise you in the next week or so there'll be an email going out. We'll be asking you what you would like to get, and we'll go out and curate them for you and create a situation where they're cost effective. So there are some situations around money.
Just again, not playing. I don't know if I'm playing devil's advocate.
No, play devil's advocate.
For people who are on, minimum wage jobs, who are, or don't have an income coming in, you can afford £2.50 maybe to buy a bottle of shampoo. 25 quid is a really big ask. And I think somebody's posted a question in a thing about, do we not need, if we want sustainability to become mainstream, don't we have to speak also about economic redistribution, more equality?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Extinction Rebellion's had a lot of criticism leveled at it, for being white and middle class, and I'm really aware that our festival is very like that. And so but for people who are really struggling financially, they would just laugh at us if we said, buy a 25 quid bottle of shampoo.
Okay, that was a bad example. We do have others that are about £6 or £7. That was a very crude example. But the point is, and think about what I'm saying to you. You're buying an organic product that is better quality. You will wash your hair less, so the cost per wash is going to be the same. So you can buy a £2.50 bottle every week or every month or whatever it is, or a 25 bottle like 6 months. So you've just got to get your head around the equation. The cost per wash is the same.
It is. But
that's the point.
It's having that money up front, isn't it? It's the same argument to buying electronic goods that will last longer. If my washing machine's broken and I got 5 kids and I need to do a wash, I'll go with the 150 quid washing machine rather than the 450 quid one, because I haven't got 150 quid. I'm just thinking we need.
I get it, and I'm not an economist, right? But clearly there is a very, very wrong economic structure that we live in. We live in an economy where profit has created 2 or 3% of the richest people in the world to control 75 to 80% of the funds in the world. We have contributed to that. I know not directly, but we have been the ones that have been feeding the money back into the systems, the Googles, the Facebooks, the Apple, the fossil fuel companies. We've all been a part of the system, and I do get it. And yes, we absolutely need a redistribution of wealth. If I was a billionaire, which I aim to be with our business model, we will put all of that money back into creating a fairer system. Because as a business, we've committed to only ever take 10% of profit for ourselves, right? That's a fact. So we're creating a shared ownership business model. And I think what we're going to see is we're going to see lots and lots of businesses that are going to become these restorative business entities. So shared ownership is a huge one. It means that anybody in the business commits for the business to become good for people and planet, and shareholders don't take any more than a limited amount of profit, because profit for profit's sake is just ridiculous. But we've all unfortunately created that world, and now we've got to stand up and take back responsibility for our actions, because we've all been a part of it, and make sure that we get people to change. And there is enough opportunity out there now. If people stand up, that they will, the governments and the big businesses will take notice. Now, how do we do that? Here's a good example, right? in the last 6 weeks, the question, how can I live a more sustainable lifestyle, on Google has increased by 4,550%, right? Now, big business and governments, they build their whole concepts on what's searched on Google. That's the way the world works now. It's like, what are people searching for? Right, we need to appease the people because that's what they're searching for. Then we'll create that situation. So this is what you need to do. This is how you can take action. Is be searching for those things. Be putting them into the algorithms on the Google systems and Ecosia and all. In fact, Ecosia is a much better platform to use because it's plant and choose for your searches. So be active. Everybody that's watching us that basically controls the systems, they want to know what the people want, and then they try to the best of their ability to give them what they want. We have a massive amount of power. We are 90% to 10% if you look at it in terms of people power, but we've all got to step up and get back to that prod and poke scenario that I was talking about. And searching for stuff is a really good example. If we can turn that 4,500% into 100,000%, 1,000,000%, suddenly Google, Facebook, Apple, all of these, Amazon, oh my God, Amazon, where do we go with that one? But, these companies will begin to create ethical products at price points that we can all afford because they'll know that's what people want.
Yeah. There's quite a few comments about buying clubs in the chat, and we've got Sisters Against Plastic, I think, on Thursday doing a chat for us, and they've set up a thing for people to set up plastic-free buying clubs. So if anybody's interested in that, hop along on Thursday or watch the replay, and there'll be lots more info on that. Shall we quickly run through these questions?
Yes, please.
The sustainability mainstream with the economic redistribution. The last poll question, no leadership. If you mean by government, then yes, there is little leadership from government with legislation. How do we make our voices heard with our political leaders?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, you've got to really be challenging your local MPs, actually. It's quite difficult to get a government to change things, but I think if you keep challenging your local MP, then they will then take their constituencies' questions back to Parliament and deal with it on that level. You've got to kind of act macro, act with the bigger picture, but actually localize the action. And I think one of the biggest things that we can actually do to take back our power is keep doing what we've been doing over the last 7 weeks. Tapping into those local farm veg boxes and buying stuff, avoiding the supermarkets with the same ratio that we've been avoiding them. I'm not an anti supermarket, but they're soulless environments to go shopping in. They push a load of shit onto you that you don't actually ever need. And so if you buy more consciously and support local businesses and communities, and again, as I said, reach out to your local MPs and get letters to them, get emails to them, get everybody on the street to ask them if they're committed to certain things that you can do as a local community, and then get everyone to write to your local MPs.
And if you're not sure who your MP is, there's a website called They Work For You, and you can check on there. I live about 10-15 minutes away from Freeman, Somerset, and they were one of the first, I think, local to get an independent town council. And the difference that has made, it has absolutely, the town is just so forward thinking. They've got a carbon action plan. They've declared a climate emergency. They've got a resilience officer. It's just phenomenal. And for those people who have the kind of inclination, standing for it can feel like a fruitless and frustrating task if you're in I'm in a very conservative town with very old school conservative local council. But if we could get more, independent people on the town council, that's when you really start to see. And yes, town councils are limited in what they can achieve.
Yeah.
But if you look at Broome and how the model that they actually they're going bottom up and impacting how Somerset's climate action plan is coming together. I think that's really powerful as well.
It is, and I'm sorry that we can't get to answer all of these questions. I'm reading through them. People are so engaged right now. I think what would be really useful is Jen, you've created this beast, and it's now kind of become a consciousness within itself. And I think from my perspective, what I would like to offer to everybody is is I think that we are in a time now where, you know, the likes of Ag Ecologist and, you know, My Green Pod and, you know, Ethical Superstore and all of these, you know, wonderful environments that are out there, we need to start working together. We need to once a week collaborate on a collective message that is helpful for our community to be able to go out and stimulate the next ring in the chain, or the next ripple, right? Because we have already created, you know, we've been thought leaders. We haven't been mainstream, instigators. We've been thought leaders, and you know, we know the BBC, the ITV, you know, the mainstream newspapers, they all read our posts, and 9 times out of 10 they'll reshape it and put it out as their news. The Sun Digital, you know, loads of them. So, you know, we can't control that, because somebody has to be a pioneer and be thought leaders, and then you influence the influencers, and then the influencers influence their networks. I mean, that's just the chain of events. But what I do believe is, and I want Jen, you and I to work on this, is we get everybody that's come into this network, and we all collectively come together and agree once a week to put out a unified message, because that has a power, right? And 1 week it can be, right, we're going to everybody to sign up to 100% renewable energy. The next week it's going to be everybody to get their friend to sign up to 100% renew, whatever it is. But I am willing to put my time and energy into bringing us all together to stimulate once a week just one unified message.
That's so important, because I think, you know, I've got, you know, a big Facebook group with like 16,000 people in it. Georgina's got Pebble Mag. And we're all doing amazing stuff. But as you said, there's no collective voice. And I did a campaign in September to get people to switch. And, you know, it's really hard. But if people are hearing messages from multiple areas, it's that thing that, you know, that sales people say, oh, you need 7 touch points to make a sale. I think it's the same thing to get people to change as well.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And that's why these big businesses, you know, they always win, because they've got the money, they can do the messaging, they can infiltrate you on billboards, TV, internet, through your letterbox, the whole thing. So we are fighting against a very angry, aggressive, noisy machine. The problem is that machine's killing us. And now we've got to try and find solutions and radical ways to disrupt the way that they are putting information to us. And we can only do that if we collectively come together. So just to let you know, we have My Green Pod as a marketplace, which I know I keep harping on about, right? But we have now joined up with a network of 5 or 6 big ethical marketplaces in Europe, and we are creating one big global entity. At the moment, it's called One Shop for All, right? Which will basically be an ethical Amazon, right? But it's going to be regionalized, nationalized. So when you shop, you'll shop with your local company entity. So in the UK, it'll be My Green Pod, Ethical Superstore, whatever it will be, if they want to join us. But essentially, it'll be giving you an option so you can shop as ethically as you possibly can, and you won't have to shop with Amazon anymore. So we're trying to make it convenient. So we are working on this behind the scenes. So I'm doing it in the digital retail space. We now need to do it in the news space, in the mainstream kind of news space. So Jen, that's mine and your mission. That's our take home from this, if you're up for it.
If people want to connect with you about that, if they're involved with organisations and things that they'd love to collaborate with, where's the best place to connect with you? Is it LinkedIn?
The best place to connect with me is jarvis@mygreenpod.com, jarvis@mygreenpod.com, or sign up to mygreenpod.com's newsletter, and I will be, every week, we'll be sending out a personal newsletter about some of the developments that we're working on. And there'll be landing pages, and there'll be things that you can sign up to. And I know everybody's trying to do this, and you know, it's fine. But I think that there were 2 very simple things: is getting the power of the united message, and giving people the option of convenience that they're getting elsewhere. If we can deal with those 2 things, that will disrupt a non-sustainable economy.
Amazing. I hope everybody is feeling kind of fired up. I will say again, I'm saying it every single time, the whole point of us coming together like this is that we're inspiring each other. We're taking action. Jarvis has said again, and it's one of my big things, you know, if you can shop, if you can change your electricity supplier. So we've got the pledge wall. I'll post the link in the chat. Do come and just share your pledges on there. You know, there's last time I looked last night, there were like 20 odd on there. I'm sure there's more today. Let's everybody share a pledge of what they're going to do as a result of listening to this talk, and let's really see some action get taken. But yeah, no, I love this, and so much great stuff in the chat, guys. Thank you so much. The replay will be available pretty much straight after we disappear, and the chat stays there, so you can come and see all those links and things. But yeah, thank you, Jarvis. Thank you so much, and amazing that are coming.
It's a pleasure. And guys, please, I just remind you one more time, please, not for me, just for yourselves to get clued up. Sign up to the My Green Pod newsletter. Right, we're not going to bombard you, but I promise you we will bring you some gifts that are going to be able as collectively to change things. So do that, just commit to doing that, and then we can get more of a community together and really start moving stuff. Thank you, everybody. I mean, that's amazing. 207 people on this call is I'm blown away. So I'm really, really, really grateful to you, Jen, and to everybody else that's listened.
And it's mygreenpod.com, is it, for people to come and find it?
Yeah, it's mygreenpod.com, and at the bottom of every page you can sign up, become a subscriber. There is a weekly newsletter. We're not going to bombard you with stuff, but the main point is that I'm going to be following up very quickly with this new kind of invitation for the buying clubs and the new shopping platform, and ways that people can get involved. And I'm really willing to lead the charge on that if Jen is going to help me. Are you in, Jen?
Absolutely. This is my public accountability here, so might need to get this week over and done with and have a little nap, but
yeah.
After that, I'm up for it.
And just to remind everyone, if anyone's got anybody out there that's a bit skeptical, go through that little meditation thing where you get them to close their eyes, take themselves to the best place and then ask them if they were shopping. And if they weren't, you've then got a way in.
Yes.
It shifts their consciousness. So that's what we've got to do now, is shift consciousness.
Oh, so powerful. Thank you so much, Jarvis. And we will be in touch very soon.
Bless you. Thank you all.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.